Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Fumi and it is really great to be with you guys here today. If you're new here, welcome. Hello. We have been on several different journeys in the past couple of videos. I've come to the realization as of recently that a lot of my content has been spread across all of social medias, and sometimes it's fun to get a little bit grounded and see where the journey has taken us, especially when we saw TikTok kind of flop for a second. I am still struggling to re-download it. I don't know if I will. I currently have an uploader just like handling any content that is on YouTube and handling the whole TikTok part. So we'll see if I come back. But of course, you already know by the title. Put together a little compilation for you guys just to see the sketching journey from beginning to current-ish. So you could get that full-fledged idea of like how ideas have grown, how I've changed, and how content has changed. Especially if you just want something to draw to, it could be really fun. Who knows? Let me know if you like this. Definitely comment down below. If you like this video, like, subscribe, and click that notification bell to see more videos like this. For context's sake, I believe that it was a goal, New Year's of 2023, so this is about 2 years worth of a sketching journey that you're seeing here. But with that, I will let this video speak for themselves, and thank you for being here. In the meantime, I'm very excited for next week's video. We have some cool stuff going on. Anyways, enjoy, and let's get to it. This year, I really want to get better at sketching and making beautiful sketching pages. I am so tired of looking at my sketchbook and just wanting to skip over pages because they look so bad. I am totally obsessed with those beautiful bullet journals and beautiful sketchbooks, so I am aspiring to get better this year. I definitely don't use very expensive tools for my line art because I have a really bad habit of leaving my pens and pencils everywhere and eventually losing them. I cannot be trusted. But anyways, hopefully this year I get better and you guys will be here to follow along in my little sketchbook journey. Shy little frog singing along to this fun tune. Shy little frog singing along to this fun tune. Can I ask you what sketchbook you use? Absolutely. As you can see, I really love this sketchbook. I love these, and I also love this one. Found at Barnes & Noble's at the fair price of $10. I love these so much because they lay completely flat while still being bound. It's not a super high quality paper, but that's okay because I'm not afraid to make mistakes in it, and there's plenty of room. This is part 3 of trying to get better at sketching a little bit more aesthetically. Today we are redoing this page that features a concept character that I was working on for a very old webtoon idea. This character was very Alice in Wonderland inspired, so I'm going to keep to that theme. I find a really good way to fill up your sketch page is to fill it with fun little words and typography. I did end up loving the writing on this page. Something that I was very scared of, that I'm always scared of, is ruining the line art with pen, especially these G2 pens because they are definitely thicker than your typical mechanical pencil, and sometimes it feels like it can make or break the line art. But I think I was in the safe zone because everything I was drawing wasn't too small in scale, and I think that's when you need to worry most about it. I also love these little squiggly borders that I made. That definitely lifted the pressure of feeling like everything needed to be perfect. Hi guys, for the most part I use these Arteza pens, which are pretty good. They're great, I think, for the price. I probably got them off of Amazon. I've had them for a while, but I do really love my Copic markers. They are just wonderful and amazing, and I only have 3 because they're kind of expensive. I got these from my hometown. And then you'll see these 2 ones. I just got these ones. These are Artsmith, and I think I got them from Joann's. I basically just see pens sometimes and I just pick them up as a little souvenir. But you know, when you find those really cute little art shops, I always grab like a cute color. So that's what I use, and I can do a few swatches if you guys want to see. To the friends who want to start sketching a little more aesthetically but don't know where to start. First, I'd say you don't need to overwhelm yourself with the best of materials. The heart of sketching is embracing the free flow of ideas, and for me, if I work with a super high quality sketchbook and pens, I'll be way too afraid to make mistakes. The least amount of pressure on yourself, the better. My next little tip is to get inspired, because Pinterest has so many beautiful sketchbook pages to look through. It's such a great resource. Something else that really helped me was giving each of my sketch pages a theme. Whether it is Christmas, nature, or tea time, there's an endless amount to choose from. Good luck! This is part 5 of trying to sketch a little more aesthetically. Yesterday I was trying to see if I could just quickly doodle a full body portrait without a pencil sketch, and well, I think I need some practice. I really struggled at first, probably because I didn't really have an idea of a theme, but eventually I landed on making some cute Hinamori Amu style outfits that I have been seeing basically everywhere. I thought I'd be doing a few full body drawings, but I think it was better that I added one close-up one and squatting to offer up some variety. I was really debating on whether or not I should add color to this page because I didn't want to risk smearing the pen and messing things up, but I've liked to add color in the past, so I just went for it, and it looked fine this time. My last sketch, I did think I was doing a little bit too much, so my goal for this page was just to know when to stop before I go overboard, and it actually ended up being one of my favorite pages so far. What do you think? Feel free to follow me as I try to get better at sketching a little more aesthetically. How do I motivate myself to draw? Well, other than forcing yourself to just sit down and go through the motions of finding a pencil and opening up a sketchbook while promising yourself that this is something you absolutely like to do even though you haven't felt like doing it in forever, here's a few tips for when you get over that hump. First is what I always say, find a theme. Find a theme and keep to what you already enjoy. Maybe ask yourself, is there an anime you've been watching with a character you love? Draw them. Is it Halloween soon? Draw your costume. You don't know how to draw hands? Take some pictures of your own and draw them. And now, once you have a general idea of what you'd like to draw, you don't need to put all the pressure on your imagination to do the work. Use all the references you need. It's really about making it as easy as possible to get you started. And if you need a friend to draw with, I will be that friend to draw with. Maybe I'll start live streaming or start an artist Discord or something like that. We'll see. Hope this helps. Here are some swatches starting with my Copic markers. So if you don't know about Copic markers, they are among the most expensive but also the highest quality marker you're gonna get. It is a Japanese product that many manga artists use to color their art. Of all the markers that I use, these are most definitely the highest quality. They are long lasting, I don't worry about them drying out. The colors are just beautiful and they blend very well. I would say though, because of the price point, if you are buying them individually, to pick out colors that are very versatile that you think that you'd be using a lot. That way you get the most bang for your buck, and as you go on your sketching journey, you can continue to collect more. Hi guys, let's look at the progress of my sketching so far. This is me sketching very unintentionally, not really having any structure or direction, just kind of approaching the page really lost and not really making pages that I'm proud of. I definitely don't want you guys to misunderstand this series though. I'm not doing this because I compared myself to others and I felt bad. I wanted to do this because I saw sketchbooks that inspired me. And I knew if I just put a little bit more intention behind the sketches I was already doing, I feel like I'd be a lot more proud to share my sketchbook. Yes, absolutely, at its core, a sketchbook is about the free flow of ideas, but it doesn't hurt to add a little bit more structure and intention behind your pages. I am so excited in this series to see how else I can improve. So I have to say that my favorite thing about the Discord server so far is probably the weekly themed art challenges. We've added a Draw This in Your Style challenge, an OC challenge, and a sketch challenge. It's been so much fun creating alongside others and seeing everyone's interpretations of the theme. Actually, this sketch that I'm doing today is kind of a warm-up for the new theme this week. For our sketch challenge, the theme is Vivid Dream. I think this is really fun because as I'm getting to know everyone on this server, I can explore their subconscious. What do you dream about? Is there some weird, reoccurring dream that you can't get rid of? Was there a vivid dream in your childhood that still haunts you today? I will probably be sharing some of mine this week, so definitely stay tuned. Definitely don't be fooled by the sketchbook. Not every page is pretty and half the pages get skipped because my markers bleed through to the next page. But I'm going to teach you guys something that might not have to be taught, but it's basically what I do to patch up any ruined page and get some of my loose sketches into a book. It's really just taping in a new sketch and sometimes folding the sides to get the paper to fit, and yeah, that's it. It's easy, it adds character, and lets you cover up all your icky pages. I do wonder if anyone else does this, but hopefully it's not too weird. Here's some more swatches of my Arteza Everblend markers. Starting with some more cool tone colors, we're working with baby blue, pale aqua blue, periwinkle purple, and sweet pea purple. I've only really had these pens for about a year. They definitely aren't as juicy as when I first had them, and they don't quite glide through the paper as well as the Copic markers do, but they are very budget friendly at $17 per 12 pack. A little difference to know about the Copic pen that really isn't a disadvantage, just something to note is that the felt pen has some flexibility to it, whereas the felt pen in the Arteza is kind of a true felt pen that doesn't have any flexibility to it, so if you have any preferences, just keep that in mind. Something else to know about the Arteza pens is that if you're doing swatches, they do go on a little bit darker at first, so you're going to want to give it some time to lighten up. That way you get your true end result. Hope this helps. So if all the cute setup girlies were dead, I'm very much alive. What we got here is my dining room table. This stand here was a stand I got off of Amazon. This mic was a mic I got from Best Buy that I don't actually use because I just use this as a mic. And how I record is by using this gooseneck phone stand that I did also get from Amazon. And I basically just move it around whenever I need to, and this is basically the angle that you get. So yeah, definitely not a complicated setup. Pretty simple, and I hope that helped. Okay, I think this is part 10 of trying to get better at sketching a little more aesthetically. I did take a different approach today, going right in with marker, but honestly, it wasn't looking quite right. But there's no going back from here, so I'm gonna try and save it. So this is my page for the Discord sketch challenge, and this week's theme is Vivid Dream. The other night I had this really odd dream that I got invited to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, and we kept riding this roller coaster. There was like a huge jelly bean, and then while we were touring around, I kind of asked myself, like, what would it be like to marry an entrepreneur like Willy Wonka? And to my surprise, he suddenly wanted to elope and leave his factory behind. But then I was like, I don't know, do you really want to leave everything you've built? You've worked really hard, and that's basically why I took interest in you. And then he said no, he wanted to kind of run away and just stay at home, and then I woke up. Anyways, this page is not too bad. I made a huge mistake, but I will tell you about that later. What wasn't a mistake was using these extra fine G2 Pilot pens and these amazing Copic sketch markers my wonderful friend gave me. I cannot tell you how amazing of a gift this was. I can't wait to use these and add them to my collection. So here's where the mistake came in. Basically after this part, there's no in between. You're only getting to see the final details because some way or another I forgot to press record. Anyways, this is my little submission for our sketch challenge this week. The theme for the sketch challenge is I can fly. So I decided on doing very wispy winged lashes. I love getting to make this with my new markers especially, and finally getting into doing those more finer details with my extra fine tipped G2 pens. I like this piece for the challenge this week, but I think I want to do something a little bit more elaborate, so maybe I'll put a little bit more of a long form video on my YouTube channel. Can I ask you what sketchbook you use? Absolutely. As you can see, I really love this sketchbook. I love these, and I also love this one. Found at Barnes & Noble's at the fair price of $10. I love these so much because they lay completely flat while still being bound. It's not a super high quality paper, but that's okay because I'm not afraid to make mistakes in it, and there's plenty of room. This is part 12 of trying to get better at sketching. I really want to get better at sketching quicker, so I only gave myself 30 minutes to complete this entire page. To some that may sound like a lot of time, but for me it felt like time just flew by. Pun very much intended. And as you guys know, I'm not really playing to my strengths here. I feel like doing full body poses like this is definitely a weakness when it comes to sketching on paper like this. First and foremost, I am very much a digital artist, so getting on paper and knowing that there's no going back, I can't readjust the legs, it's really making me want to look back and check out what my process is, and probably hinting at me needing to get better at anatomy. I think I probably need a few days where I just sketch a ton of bodies and poses on paper to get that muscle memory in. Anyways, this is my second submission for the I Can Fly Discord sketch challenge. This is part 13 of trying to get better at sketching. I am so excited to use these new Copic sketch markers. My friend ended up giving me a second pack, which is actually insane. I am so lucky. If you've been following me closely, you'll know I'm in the works of trying to develop this kind of older male character for my webtoon. I think his name is gonna be Orith, but since I'm very inexperienced in drawing older male character types, I'm still in that kind of practice mode of figuring out what he really looks like, whether or not he has a beard, what his hairstyle is, how old he's going to be. And speaking of old, that was the theme for this week's sketch challenge, which I may or may not have rigged to practice making this character. I feel like every older guy that I end up drawing just ends up looking like Pedro Pascal, or at least I think that's his name. I do absolutely love getting to use my skin-toned Copic markers though. They just work so well, and I can't wait to use them again. I hope you enjoyed. I cannot for the life of me figure out how to draw hands. So this week we are tackling the mothership. I feel like when you start approaching anatomy, there isn't really one certain way to do it. Some people love simple shapes, some people love working with circles, and some people like to put down the bone structure before they put all the flesh over it. And to be honest, as you guys can see, I approach every single hand very differently because I don't know what my process is. So I guess I should just try them all and see what works for me. For every single one of these hands, I am using a reference, and I'm really trying to keep my eye on the different proportions of the fingers, and I'm making up little rules in my head. For example, the middle finger is the longest finger, the thumb stops just below the middle point of your fingers, and your pinky fills out about 2/3 of your longest finger length. If that didn't make sense, I'll try and talk more in the next video. The most anxiety-inducing and humbling experience I feel as an artist is diving right into learning something you've been avoiding for ages. So let's continue trying to figure out how to draw hands. You'll see that I am drawing the same hand over and over and over again. I am glancing at my reference just to check my proportions, but then I really want to work on my muscle memory. So for some of these hands, I'm not relying on my reference. I'm just thinking about where the knuckles are lining up, where both the pinky and the thumb ends. Something that I wish I had caught earlier was that the second knuckle of the pinky is definitely lower than your 3 middle fingers, and it creates a kind of arch. You'll see that I try to fix that up when I correct things with a pen. Going over with a pen really helped me see where I probably went wrong and gave me a chance to correct my mistakes. From my practice, I think I figured out how I like to lay out the hand. It's not too simple of a shape, but it's not too complicated that it leads me astray. So I'm gonna continue using this method. Okay, enough of the things that I can't do. Let's just do a quick therapeutic little doodle. Here is me giving you permission to just do a tiny doodle that doesn't fill up an entire page. You can always come back and finish it up whenever you'd like to. And I'm only giving you permission because I need to give myself permission. As artists, we need those quick wins, and setting a little timer for 20 minutes to just finish a very small sketch is better for our mental health. This is my OC, Nia, and she is so cute. I love drawing her. You're gonna find that I actually draw her a lot just because I think she's actually gonna be a fan favorite when I come out with my webtoon. She is mischievous, sarcastic, and very, very cheeky. And I love that I got to use my nude Copic markers again. It is so satisfying and fun to use. I'll probably come back tomorrow and finish up this page, so definitely stay tuned for the next time. Have an amazing day. This is day 3 of trying to get better at drawing hands. To start off these practices, I do like to draw just one simple hand, just so I'm reminded of where all the knuckles are and where all the fingers end, and then I dive into the more complicated angles and poses. I wish I could tell you guys that on day 3 of practicing drawing hands that I now feel very comfortable, but of course it's not going to be that easy. Everybody who gives any kind of advice when it comes to drawing hands says that you're gonna have to draw a ton of ugly hands before you begin to draw really, really good ones very naturally. And my end goal, the dream, is to be able to draw hands right from imagination without breaking a sweat. And I'm sure that means tons and tons of practice. I will say though that as I am more and more intentional about proportions, I feel like my eye is getting better at corrections and seeing where things go wrong. And I'd say my weakness right now is not drawing the hands from the side, but from the top down. And I will see you at our next practice. How do I pick out my color palettes? Well, besides just being limited to very nicely colored pens, a lot of what guides my color palettes are my characters, their stories, and their general essence. For example, Nia, my OC, she is very childlike and playful, but she's not very girly. You likely won't see her dressing in pink, mostly in blues and yellows and oranges, and because she still has that kind of childlike characteristic to her, I'm giving her a very lively and pinkish skin tone, like she's almost been running around, very much full of life. And of course, to build very interesting contrast, I work with opposite colors or complementary colors, such as blue and orange as you see in the jacket and in the jeans, but then I'll use colors like teal in the hair and yellow in the t-shirt, almost like a bridge to connect all the colors together. Hopefully that helps. I'm very much a feelings artist, if that makes sense, so it's a little bit challenging to be very methodical with these things, but hope this helps. Ew, okay, wait, hold on. Need to make a little change. Yes! So much better. And now we can start our part 16, maybe part 15 of trying to sketch a little more aesthetically. For our Discord challenge this week, the theme is hands. And as you guys know, I've been on a rampage practicing drawing hands and getting better at anatomy. I really just don't want to be intimidated by hands anymore. And I always run into the trouble of not having the right reference, especially when it comes to drawing for my webtoon. So hopefully the goal is by at least the end of the year, I will be able to draw hands from imagination. At least hopefully I'll be able to get there. For today's concept, I really wanted to make this little like witchy hand with that little tint of green, giving you kind of like those Wicked vibes. They almost ruined the page because the purple background was getting really blotchy, but I think the half cross-hatching really helped to kind of distract from it, which was great because I almost gave up because this is my like 3rd attempt trying to make this page. How do I prevent my line art from smudging? So these are the pens that I use. They are extra fine Pilot G205 pens, and I find that these are just pens that don't end up smudging. Once you let them dry and kind of settle into the paper, you'll see that when I get to my coloring stage, the ink doesn't really move around. Now, this case is a little bit different if you choose not to go with the extra fine pens. I haven't done a lot of experimentation, but I do know with the extra thick G2 pens, they are just really juicy, and if you don't wait wait for them to completely settle into the paper and dry, you'll probably get more smudging. So this advice is definitely just what works for me. And with that out of the way, what we're working on today is our Discord server sketch challenge. Sketch challenge this week is our favorite snacks, and I love that it gives me an opportunity to learn more about you guys who are in my Discord server. My favorite snack, as you guys might have seen from my mini vlogs, is definitely Pocky Sticks. I love that yummy chocolatey crunch. I do wish though that they had something very similar to that of the original chocolate Pocky flavor, except with some dark chocolate. As you can see, I'm such a chocolate lover, but I am one of those people who love dark chocolate and love coffee. That bittersweet combination is just unbeatable. And really, I wasn't trying to do a kind of like February layout, but I was reminded that Valentine's was just this month. So whenever I look back at this page, I'll probably be reminded that I made this in February. Since you've made it to the end of this video, definitely comment down below what your favorite snack is. I'd love to learn more about all my followers. And adding some sparkles for the final touches, we have finished this page. And I will see you guys in the next video. This week's Discord sketch challenge is your favorite song. And those who have been following me know that I love the Glue song by Bia Badoobie. It's one of my favorite songs by her, probably my favorite song ever by her. Coming back from what feels like a very long time of not sketching, I really enjoyed getting to do some fan art this week. I spend so much time developing my own personal characters that I forget there's also so many exciting characters out there that I'd love to make fan art of. Bia Badoobie was definitely the right first choice, and I don't think I'm quite done drawing her. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video. My favorite character was the theme for the sketch challenge just a couple weeks ago, and for mine, I chose Red Riot. For those who have watched My Hero Academia, we all know that most of the supporting characters are all so much fun to watch. They have so much character and personality, but amongst all those characters, I think Red Riot has got to be my all-time favorite. I just totally love everything that they did with his character. I love that they made him the only one who could call out to Bakugo, that Bakugo would let help him. He's never even been intimidated by him because he's always asserted that he is on that kind of same respect and level as Bakugo. And then when he had his own fight with Fat Gum, oh my gosh, it was just so stunning and so awesome. I just love everything about all the scenes that he's in. I don't know if we're gonna get a better fight scene. This is definitely a character I hope gets to have the spotlight again. I hope you enjoyed this. I have been loving doing fan art, especially when it's okay guys, I have been doing a little bit way too much adulting as of lately, so we are trying to go back to more of the nostalgic childhood roots and use these color pencils that I found in my fiance's box from high school. Clearly they are in need of being used. I have not used colored pencils in forever. I don't really remember ever being able to afford this big a pack of colored pencils. Still, this feels like a luxury. I remember always only having maybe like 3 really good color pencils that I've borrowed from my friends in my little coloring box. I did definitely have crowns though, I think. But anyways, I'm clearly a little bit out of practice because this little doodle here is not turning out that amazing coloring wise, but I like it. It was simple and easy, and this is from the Fungus Art Challenge. Little sketchbook hack. Grab a handful of colors, reload your Pinterest homepage, and only draw what you see in those first few images. I'm gonna try this today. Let's see how we do. Also, I don't think I showed it, but I did pick 2 random color pencils as well. I feel like this little challenge was really helpful whenever I feel like I get lost and exhausted trying to generate ideas for just a simple sketch page. I just look up at my screen and I pull another thing that I can add or draw in. As you can see, I'm totally over my aesthetic sketching era. I'm definitely now in the mindset of whatever happens, happens, and sketching is just supposed to be fun. Why put so much pressure on myself to sketch aesthetically? I'm definitely gonna try this technique again. It was absolutely so much fun, and I have officially decided I am entering into my messy sketchbook era, using this challenge, of course. grab some colors at random. I love doing a mix of markers and colored pencils. Refresh your Pinterest page and set a timer for 15 minutes. And now, using your Pinterest page as inspiration, we are ready to sketch. This is the second time that I'm sketching using this little technique, and for those who are wondering why I'm giving myself so many limitations, is because I really want to sketch, but I overthink so many things like my color palette, what to draw, and what I should reference, and I end up spending way too much time getting in my head that basically an hour has passed by and I now have no time to sketch or really do anything. So giving me these little limitations has really helped get the pen to the paper so I can let loose and draw. Another little tip that I had was not to worry about filling up the entire page. I know I did this time around. I'd say if you're trying to sketch every day, try and pull yourself out at that 15-minute mark, and just know you can complete that page at another time. Anyways, I had so much fun with this and I can't wait to fill up my sketchbook. I have not been in the mood to sketch for a very long time, so I'm very thankful that Ohuhu has sent me some of their products to try, and maybe, just maybe, it'll give me the fuel that I need to get back sketching. This is their new Honolulu Pastel 48 colors set, and oh my gosh, they look so beautiful. I will try out these glitter markers later. We'll just focus on the normal set first. The last Ohuhu set that I actually bought for myself quite a while ago turned out to be a little bit too dark, but from what I'm seeing right now, they look very buildable and beautiful and pastel. I really want you guys to trust the process in all of this. I don't see people sketch like this very often. Maybe I'm just not on Sketch Talk enough, but having just got back from kind of a big hiatus, or I don't even know if you can call it a hiatus, a break from sketching and doing a lot more illustrations, I really felt that I needed to do an initial, I don't know, like a base or a sketch of what I was thinking of doing. This is a really similar technique that I use when I draw digitally, so it felt very natural. So those going from digital to sketching, this might really help you out, because I hate having to go in with pencil and then see the pencil lines under the sketch. You do definitely have to trust the process though. It looks so like, ooh, it just does not look right now. And it is taking everything in my power to not just go in with that black pen up there. I needed to see some structure, so I totally just went right in for it, and thankfully it did not turn out bad at all. I do love my super thin Pilot pens. They dry really nicely and they don't budge when you do art markers over them, which is kind of the best part. I did start out by just using a random picture on Pinterest to use as a reference, then I kind of riffed off of it here. Lately, I've been really obsessed with super short, kind of French girl haircuts. I literally cut my hair just yesterday, pretty much at this short length, but my hair is just so straight. It never really has that kind of effortless, chic, French girl, bob-like style. So, I don't know. I'm figuring it out. But anyways, I think that's why I gravitated towards this picture so much. Something that I found about these markers, and maybe it's just because they're so buildable, but they're very forgiving. Obviously, as you guys can see, I didn't know like swatch testing, and Ohuhu does give you like a little swatch paper usually that tries to let you know what the colors look like beforehand. But it is always best to do a swatch page just to kind of know your colors, and you don't really open up a lot of room for mistakes. But you'll see a lot of times I just go in with a color and take the risk, and thankfully nothing like detrimental happened, but I'm definitely, you know, playing with that boundary. So I was actually gonna leave the sketch like that, but I can't walk away from a sketch without making it very, I don't know, fantasy or magical. So we're gonna add some wings again, using that trick to build up a very light base. I think making the wings not so structured like I usually draw them is really nice. I really wanted them to kind of feather out, not be so chibi or anime-like, but more, I wouldn't even say realistic either, just a little bit more fluid and more organic, I suppose. And if you've been watching my sketching videos at all, it's not very often where I'm sitting down and blending in a lot of colors as I sketch, but these markers were just the perfect opportunity to play around with some very forgiving palettes and slowly build up your sketch. I really wanted to see her hand or something going on that really gave a little bit more oomph to the sketch. So we're spicing it up, adding a little dagger. I've been feeling a lot more confident with hands and anatomy with hands, even though I did mess up on the grip. Like, it doesn't make sense here, but I'm glad I was able to just kind of pop it in. Me from 2 years ago would not even try to add hands onto any kind of sketch ever. So I'm very pleased. And I think it spices up the picture or the sketch just as much as I need it to. I just got off a really long plane flight and I was listening to Stardust by Neil Gaiman, which is an absolutely chef's kiss book, especially the audiobook that is read by Neil Gaiman himself. But anyways, ever since reading that book like years ago, daggers always remind me of it because there's lots of slashing, daggers, daggers always remind me of that book. I couldn't stop thinking about it when I was drawing this. Anyways, I just want to fill out the page a little bit more, adding these flowers. I'm really loving this process, so I'm looking forward to making some more videos later this week on these Ohuhu markers especially. Definitely stay tuned. Today I need to redeem myself. Let's go more wizardy. Do something like a staff owned by maybe a more elder wizard. Maybe one that's a little bit more recluse. Maybe this wizard has kind of a very light curse on him. One that makes him grow moss and gem on his arms and skin, And his staff happens to also have characteristics of his curse. And maybe it is his staff that is inflicting the curse, but he doesn't really mind because he is a recluse. Let's make it so that this is like a legendary item, but it's one of those kind of legendary items that are so used and practically broken that you never quite thought it would be legendary. Maybe one of the characteristics of the curse is not necessarily just that it's growing on its user, but that it's actually stealing the life force of its user and slowly turning the user into part of the staff. But because of the quote-unquote recluse wizard that uses said staff, doesn't really care about how his arm is being slowly forged into it, he's not quite getting the idea. So slowly, his spirit and his life force is becoming one with it, and over time, eventually he will be eaten. Guess what I finally got? Dun da da dun! The Ohuhu 48 color marker set. I am so excited to use these. I feel like a little retro anime gal might be the perfect way to test some of these markers. So let's get that all sketched out, making sure there's plenty of big fluffy hair to color in. I usually collect markers in small batches, so it's crazy that I'm getting to indulge a little bit in this big 48 marker set at a pretty reasonable price. I have been seeing reviews of these everywhere as well on TikTok. It's so exciting for me to be slightly influenced and try it myself. Also, I'm so sorry, but a big chunk of my footage was out of focus, so I didn't get that first half of coloring in the hair. But anyways, my first impressions were mostly that these colors are very deep and rich and extremely pigmented. As someone who tends to work with a lot lighter colors, this came as a little bit of a shock to me, especially because some of the titles of the markers say pastel on them. Definitely, if you opt for these colors, they're beautiful, but don't be misled. Or be better than me and smarter than me and do a little patch test before you just dive in and start coloring. I can't wait to try more of these in my next few videos, and I'll see you there. Okay, please, please, please don't hate me for this. I actually don't really care for Jujutsu Kaisen. Don't get me wrong, I love the animation. There's some really good fight scenes that I actually love to rewatch because they are good and they are very epic. And I do like, for the most part, all the characters. I think they are very well designed. Of course, I love Gojo, but my main problem is with the plot. I just don't think that Jujutsu Kaisen had very good first season. In my opinion, they did not really introduce the characters very well. I think Itadori has a very weak motive. Though I do love his happy-go-lucky character, it doesn't really make me excited for the overarching plot. And other than that, I don't really think the school or the power structure is very well organized, at least not organized enough for me to really understand what the jujitsu world is. You get this kind of vague idea of a school and some upperclassmen, but it's really odd for a story to just have the strongest character, aka Gojo, be introduced and then just nerfed by the villains every single time. And I'm really not trying to make you hate Jujutsu Kaisen, but yeah, if anyone, understands a little bit of what I'm saying, let me know. Oh, but that is such a great idea. Today, I'll take these pictures and I'll do my best to kind of merge them together. I left it all at random, just refreshing my Pinterest page. So with these three as my options, let's just see what we can do. I'm thinking, let's keep the pose from the night, including the sword, but instead of giving her a helmet, we'll give her some nice, long, luscious hair. And I did definitely debate on whether or not I wanted to do armor or a dress, but I think a dress would really suit. And then we'll take that beautiful ribbon hat from our other image as well. And I'm really, really loving this. Though I totally loved how this was coming along, I went too far with the mouth and I ended up having to patch it. I really was about to give up here because I feel like I'm always doing too much and then I ruin my sketches. But overall, it worked out pretty well. As usual, I picked up just a few colors so I didn't get too in my head about it. And I didn't think I would, but I actually did really love the peachy dress. I always end up picking up this orange color. And I've never tried layering over marker with color pencil, but it actually worked really well. And I hope you enjoyed. This is my very first time using paint markers. Since they're glittery, I think they'd be perfect for like weapons or diamonds. I figured out pretty quickly that these aren't really meant to use on a first layer of sketching, at least the way I sketch. So we're gonna go ahead and build a base with regular markers, a little bit of belly content for you. I was trying to put some like highlight on the dagger, but I think what would have worked better would be like a white marker or white pen marker. I definitely need to go get one myself. I thought maybe lining would kind of recover this illustration, but I don't know. I think it's gonna take a little bit more practice, especially because when you start using the markers, the ink actually lays on pretty thick at first. So there was just bits and pieces that were kind of a little bit ruined. Definitely a tiny little bit of learning curve. We'll definitely try it again in another video. Today I need to redeem myself. Let's go more wizardy. Do something like a staff owned by maybe a more elder wizard. Maybe one that's a little bit more recluse. Maybe this wizard has kind of a very light curse on him. One that makes him grow moss and gem on his arms and skin, and his staff happens to also have characteristics of his curse. And maybe it is his staff that is inflicting the curse, but he doesn't really mind because he is a recluse. Let's make it so that this is like a legendary item, but it's one of those kind of legendary items that are so used and practically broken that you never quite thought it would be legendary. Maybe one of the characteristics of the curse is not necessarily just that it's growing on its user, but that it's actually stealing the life force of its user and slowly turning the user into part of the staff. But because of the quote-unquote recluse wizard that uses said staff, doesn't really care about how his arm is being slowly forged into it, he's not quite getting the idea. So slowly, his spirit and his life force is becoming one with it, and over time, eventually he will be eaten. I was thinking more about the staff that we made because it does take the life force of its user, right? But then the user becomes a part of the staff. I was thinking we could get a little bit avatar-like, and whoever uses the staff may be able to confide in the past lives of those whose life force have been eaten up by it. And I wonder if this could make potentially some users of this staff crazy. Only someone with super high resistance against mind control would be able to wield this very properly. And when I was starting to think about the past lives, I started to think about the very first life that used this staff. Potentially the creator of the staff, but also just the first user of the staff itself. I thought, what if this was owned by a vampire? What if this was a solution for a vampire who maybe didn't want to turn in the first place, to be able to take someone's life force without killing them? Perhaps they were using this weapon as a way of controlling their vampiric abilities better. And this would suit really well because I accidentally used the red color at the center of the staff when I really meant to use it as like a blue one, because I thought if there was a life-giving look to the staff, as if it was a staff of healing, it would have tricked people into using it or thinking it was not a quote-unquote evil or cursed staff. But, you know, maybe it could have started out as a blue staff, and then the gem, as it took more and more people's life force away, turned into a red vampiric staff. Originally, I thought this dagger would be created for the purposes of a priest or a paladin or a holy knight to use as a very portable and easily hidden way of protection. But what if instead this was a very carefully crafted dagger that a priest was using to prepare for a betrayal? Maybe there was an amulet of seeking that they desperately wanted, and it had become a relic of the Holy Church. So he gets this dagger very carefully crafted and enhanced with powers of invisibility and blinding. And upon his successful betrayal of, say, an archbishop, maybe someone who was higher up than he was, or a dear friend, he takes the amulet, embeds it into the dagger, and throws away the murder weapon for safekeeping until the coast clears. Only maybe the river which he throws it into, unfortunately, was home to that of a sleeping spirit who despises greed, carries the dagger to the home of a witch, who stocks it among the many magical items that she plans to sell for a magical market. And eventually it'll make its way for a very poor but very ambitious thief rogue to pick it up and use it to start their many adventures. I love a little spicy backstory. I've been trying to think of a dagger that's a really good starter weapon for a thief. I'm not sure if I want to do dual daggers or a single dagger, but I think a single dagger might be better. If it were for a thief, something like invisibility, shadow, movement, but it is for a beginner, like a starter thief. Something that's going to be helpful for them, but doesn't use such an advanced magical technique to use it. It shouldn't take much thought, and it shouldn't have any legendary level qualities to it. I almost want it to be an invisible blade, but I can't necessarily draw that. But I do think it's a really great gimmick. Maybe it can only turn invisible for the span of maybe 5 seconds, and it's a good way of tricking people very temporarily. But if this is for a thief, I wonder if it could also have gems along the dagger that shine whenever it's around, maybe valuables, something that's precious, or maybe whatever the user is seeking. Or maybe whenever the thief rogue is caught, there's some sort of light flash ability that the dagger has. I think that this dagger, strangely, could have really odd origins. For example, it could have been created by, say, someone who used holy magic or was part of the priesthood, say a paladin or a holy knight, but somehow it fell into the hands of this beginner thief. And maybe that's why there's such an association to light magic in a way, which oddly enough could become quite useful to a thief, because if thieves are fighting in close range, if they're pickpocketing, if they're caught, especially a young beginner thief is caught, they're able to either flash bomb them in a way and to seek out precious items or items that you seek from the glowing gems. I was going to make this quite a dark knife aesthetically, but since it has those kind of origins, why not make it gold with a bunch of gems? I'm still definitely thinking about whether or not all of those 3 abilities are available all at once, or if the dagger needs to develop, or if this would just be a standard set of abilities. I don't know, we'll see. Originally, I thought this dagger would be created for the purposes of a priest or a paladin or a holy knight to use as a very portable and easily hidden way of protection. But what if instead this was a very carefully crafted dagger that a priest was using to prepare for a betrayal? Maybe there was an amulet of seeking that they desperately wanted, and it had become a relic of the Holy Church. So he gets this dagger very carefully crafted and enhanced with powers of invisibility and blinding. And upon his successful betrayal of, say, an archbishop, maybe someone who was higher up than he was, or a dear friend, he takes the amulet, embeds it into the dagger, and throws away the murder weapon for safekeeping until the coast clears. Only maybe the river which he throws it into, unfortunately, was home to that of a sleeping spirit who despises greed, carries the dagger to the home of a witch, who stocks it among the many magical items that she plans to sell for a magical market. And eventually it'll make its way for a very poor but very ambitious thief rogue to pick it up and use it to start their many adventures. I love a little spicy backstory. I've been trying really desperately to kind of break out of my perfectionism, and oddly enough, it came to me while I was playing Valorant. During queue times, I found it was so much fun to literally just look up a Pinterest reference and then start sketching on the side with the initial intention of just filling up my sketchbook and all of its empty weird pages. I see a lot of artists out there who are very intentionally like trying to fill up their sketchbook, but I'm the type of person who on some pages I'm writing down like a bunch of ideas, another page could be like concept art for a character that I'm creating, and then another page will be like filled with logo design samples. So I think this whole looking up a Pinterest reference and then filling up my pages with super rough and quick sketches has been both filling up my pages and also breaking me out of this perfectionism type beat. If you want to use these references as well, I will put them in our Discord in our challenge center. Hi friends, welcome to Bad Sketching, where I try to disregard any sense of perfectionism and fill up the spaces in my sketchbook with Pinterest sketches. Today I thought I would mix things up and rotate my sketchbook. I actually chose kind of a quote-unquote complicated pose that I thought would just be kind of fun to try, which it definitely was, but something definitely looked off and I almost just gave up and didn't post this, but obviously I pushed through. And it was gonna just be that center sketch, but I thought, we're gonna fill up this whole page. Typically when I go markers wise, I try to limit it to like 3 colors. Today was like blue, orange, and purple. But honestly, I think when I used the purple, I definitely ruined the page. It was not the right choice. But anyways, as usual, references are in the Discord. None of this sketchbook stuff. Today, we're doing a patch page. In the spirit of trying to fill up our sketchbook, you may find that you have some pages that you would rather cover up are not so happy, not so go lucky pages. And for me, I literally have like Bible camp notes on mine, and it's embarrassing. So this is our solution. So I did end up trimming my page with scissors just so that it would fit with the sketchbook and I wouldn't have to crop it later. Definitely do that. Please don't draw something super cute and then have to cut it out later. Or even fold it in, that'd be a big bummer. I should probably get like a stick of glue to be able to like add these pages in, but I do not have a stick of glue. So I ended up using packaging tape, though I did find some washi tape that I have clearly never been able to use before, so today's the day and it's so cute. As usual, references are in the Discord. It is day 1 of Loretober and the theme is pumpkin. When I think pumpkin, I think Harry Potter, I think about the floating pumpkins, I think about Over the Garden Wall. So what if there was a little village and a traveling nice little witch goes through, befriends some of the children, and so to bring a little bit more joy in, she puts a tiny enchantment in which any child under the age of 12 years old could carve a pumpkin, save the seeds, light a candle, and if you sprinkle the seeds on top, there then would sprout out cute little legs right out of the pumpkin. For 24 hours, that pumpkin would start dancing and prancing, playing with the kids, and eventually, when the time passed, it would just sit down just chill. And its legs would go back in and it would be a normal lantern. Maybe even the lights change according to the child's kind of personality or whatever their favorite color is, just to add some fun. But I really love the concept of like little dancing pumpkins. It's kind of like a fun little theme of the village. Like it's pretty typical and normal village, only that its little quirk is that little pumpkin friends dance around during the harvest season. Did I just make Frosty the Snowman, but for Halloween? Okay, if we're being really real, super duper honest, I had low expectations for these pen marker acrylic markers, and spoiler alert, I love them. And I'll tell you why. My main worry about using these acrylic markers, which I've never used any before, but I was worried that they would pool or get clumpy or just wouldn't mix well, but they're actually kind of fabulous. I started out with a sketch that was pretty rough, and what kind of scared me about approaching this with a more anime-like style was that the videos that I had seen and was referencing from, or not really referencing, but the videos that I had seen with acrylic markers had a very painterly style. They went for a lot of like really big, beautiful pieces, very close up face art, and or lots of oranges and fruits, which is a great way of showing how to like blend and use the pens slash markers. There were markers and pens there, but I really wanted to see if this would fit with my style and what I would usually be drawing. Anyways, I wouldn't really want to change, though it might be fun to make cute little fruit like stickers to patch on my sketchbook. So from the outset, it was pretty exciting. The texture was actually really good, and I felt like it was very buildable, like, and blendable when it came to adding other tones to the skin and the shirts and the clothing. Something I was very, very interested in trying was how we're able to correct mistakes with these acrylic pens, and it actually worked. There were details that I wanted to add to the pants, and I mean the entire thing I wanted to be able to add more detail in after the fact, after I felt like I had something full-fledged, whether it was belt loops, belts, little decorative pieces on the shirt. And I think that's my most favorite part of using these pens, was being able to do that. The ability to be able to go back and add more. I was considering adding a weapon or a sword, but I just couldn't imagine what kind of weapon she would use. So instead I just played with like a new layout for a sketch page, doing a little border around her and some lettering. I actually love the texture that this adds to my sketchbook. I'm so looking forward to making more patch pages using these acrylic markers. I will link them. The brand I got was the Grabby brush tip tool dual tone acrylic markers. So I really like that. I actually, if I'm being real, I forgot which ones I bought. I thought I got like dual tips, like two different types of tips, like one painterly tip and then one more fine or something like that. But they're both brush tips and they're dual toned, and I actually kind of appreciate that. It's a good experience, but I'll probably get more and I'll show you guys the difference. But yeah, this was a good experience. I recommend. I definitely recommend. Definitely if you want to take yourself out of that digital experience and still want to be able to backtrack and add details and be a little bit more on the painterly side, which I definitely connect with because I started out in art doing more literally, you know, painting with acrylics, not with acrylic markers. So this is like a beautiful like meeting of the two worlds when it comes to sketching and painting, which I feel like I'm being a little mellow right now just because I'm really tired, but I really enjoy that. I think in my next video I'm going to do something a little bit more fantasy. Do I want to do landscaping? Do I want to make a castle? No, I don't know. Do I want to make a fantasy character? Yes. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. As of lately, people have been struggling in the Discord to draw hands. Therefore, we are going to do a hand study. Personally, I don't really know what goes into doing a hand study. I've watched a lot, and I think you just draw hands. So we're going to do that. We're going to draw hands, and I'm going to give you a little bit of tips and tricks and how I learned to get... I'm not very good at drawing hands, but I am much better than I was a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. And really, the first part of it is just getting yourself geared up to do really poorly for a really long time. On the real, gear yourself up to draw many, many bad hands and to feel very uncomfortable. It is by no means easy to feel like you have no idea how to draw, especially for me, who I've been drawing my whole life, and I avoided drawing hands for as long as I could. And not even that, it was really just the fact that I had not intentionally learned how to draw hands to a point where if there were hands in the drawing, I wouldn't necessarily avoid it, but I could spend hours redrawing that hand over and over again, wasting so much time only because I hadn't yet intentionally tried to learn how to draw hands. So if you're in that same position, I highly recommend that you get right into it and we can stop wasting time. In this process, you may have to watch many tutorials like I did. You're gonna have to seep it all up. I recommend Proco. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but they have some really great tutorials. I watched a lot of Draw Like a Sir. Blue Biscuits, I believe, has probably my favorite tutorial, only because, I don't know, Blue Biscuits, they're amazing. Those are the ones that stick out. But basically, everyone has a different approach when it comes to drawing hands. And really, the best way to figure out your technique is to just watch everyone, try all the different techniques. What helped me really click when it came to drawing hands was like the rules of ratios when it comes to hands. And I mean, there's a lot of different rules, but the rules basically essentially about how all your knuckles should like have an arc to it. They all follow each other, they all line up. It's definitely something you can check every single time you draw a hand, is whether or not your knuckles are kind of in this arched position. If they're not, and if one is up here and another is down here, it's a no-go, bro. So learning all the different series of arches that your hand follows really helped me. If you see in my process, I start out with the base or the palm of the hand, and then I create my fingers going outwards. Sometimes for some poses it's not gonna work, and you're just gonna have to get right into it, especially if you're using a reference. 100%, you're not gonna learn how to draw hands by not using a reference. You're not gonna just like magically know what a hand looks like. You would think you would, but they're very complicated. These guys, very complicated. You're not gonna know, and it's gonna be even more dejecting and hard to get started if you're staring at a blank page and beating yourself up because you have no idea what a hand looks like. So use a reference. Using and picking up the techniques that other people share helped me a lot. And then when it came to actually practicing and drawing, I had to draw so many bad hands. I had to understand it, and really over time, it was muscle memory. And I mean, that's kind of how so much of like any kind of practice goes, is you start out terrible and you get through the trenches of being terrible, and then eventually you'll find yourself a month later much better and much more comfortable, and you really reap the benefits of practice. And I love that, and it was such a great feeling. It feels great now to feel a little bit better at drawing hands, and I don't feel as limited, but it really was just getting over that hump and then grinding out the tutorials, picking up other people's techniques, being flexible, being okay with failure, giving yourself grace to push through that process, and trusting in time and trusting in what it looks like to come back and, you know, open up your sketchbook and just draw bad. And eventually bad may turn to good, and good may turn into great, and great may turn into freaking awesome. And that is all for today. I will be patch paging my sketchbook that we've been working on, trying to fill, and hopefully we can get to a point where I will do a whole sketchbook tour of my favorite pages. And I will see you next time. Today is a fan art day. Crazy. I don't often do fan art, but when I do, it's of content that is near and dear to my heart, and or maybe I'm obsessing over it. And today's obsession is to start, I actually have a Pinterest board of poses that I would use for fan art. So we're gonna use this one. Love it. It's perfect. I will admit, I was almost a dandaran hater. First episode, it was fine, pretty good. I don't know why I was having such a hard time getting through it. And then the second episode hit, and the main character was a little bit of a pick-me. Kind of a lot. But then trust, if you stick with the chemistry between the two of them, the glow-ups, the fight scenes, the animation, the cinematic beauty, the animated beauty of this anime blows my mind. I did consider for this piece to use a reference for a color palette, but I think that's too many like elements I'm working with right now. So we're gonna keep it simple. Use this pose, make some fan art. When I look at the beauty of this anime though, I don't know if new anime watchers would appreciate the level of complexity and the amount of work it takes to make this beautiful of an anime. It's just such a whole different vibe. I still have an appreciation for like Inuyasha, Naruto, Bleach, of course, animes that have really good, still to me, like really beautiful, amazing fight scenes, but not nearly as advanced as the fight scenes that we see nowadays. So I just hold this other level of appreciation for the animation of today. It's actually insane and very inspiring. I think we're gonna have to look at some dandaran scenes and then use it as a lighting reference. I think that might be really fun because there's some really just stunning scenes in there that I would love to do like a study in. For this patch page, and if you've been here for a hot second, you know I've been doing patch pages for the sketchbook I'm trying to fill, and we've been working with these acrylic markers, which I'm kind of obsessed with now. Was a hater, or I was a doubter, not a hater. But anyways, we're working with these acrylic markers. I've been loving them. I'm playing a lot with the skin tones and really trying to take advantage of the fact that these are acrylic markers, acrylic paint markers. I definitely did test the boundaries of how many mistakes I can go back and forth with in terms of going back with my pen and then painting over the pen. And I think I did reach a kind of threshold where it'll start to make the picture grainy. It's pretty late right now, so I was a little bit rushed when making this, but I think it came out pretty decent. I was actually watching some of my earlier sketch series videos, and that's the playlist below. But anyways, I have just come a long way when it's come to sketching. Like I don't know why, I just like, look at this. Look at my old hand studies. Sorry to take you out of the video, but either which way, I've come a long way and I felt really good about this page. I love the lettering that we were able to put on. I tried to do the black star signature star. I should have looked at it. I didn't quite do it right. But I'm satisfied with this page, and I will see you guys in the next sketching draw with me video. Bye. We have a new Discord challenge. It has been a hot second, I will admit. Before, we would do weekly art challenges on the Discord, which we may do, we may bring it back, but life was just not letting me. But I'm back, here we are, and the challenge today is what you watching? I, for one, am watching Dandaran. It's a new anime this fall-winter anime season. And it's pretty bomb. The art in particular, it's chef's kiss. Like, it's so good that I think we could probably do an expression study together just by looking at the dandaran scenes. So much love has been put into it. Blood, sweat, and tears. So go watch it and join the Discord challenge. I did in fact cave and got the grabby acrylic paint markers, and I will admit I had my doubts, but I have been proven wrong. In fact, they're kind of fabulous. They are so creamy, so delicious. And I absolutely love how I can layer up and go back in and add detailing after I've laid out my basic structure. As you can see here, I did end up adding some belts and some detailing to the shirt. I added the bandages around her arm, and I loved how this page ended up, especially when it came to doing little typography and detailing. Like, the layout just turned out so much fun. What a beautiful meeting of the two worlds of painting and sketching. I so look forward to using this in more future projects and adding a little bit more texture to my sketchbook. Quick tip, in my process, I do love to use my red pen. It's kind of this beautiful in-between. It has the density of, say, a mechanical pencil, but it doesn't give you the permission to erase over and over again. So when it comes to doing studies, it's really helped me to have the non-committal red pen, which is funny because teachers made the switch from the red pen to the blue pen because there's too much negative connotation. So I think it's just funny and ironic that the red pen for me has become something of a safety net, something that's given me permission to make mistakes. Isn't that poetic and just beautiful and amazing? Our handy dandy red pen, get it? I was definitely not planning on doing this today, but I saw this pose and it was just exuding Nana energy. So of course the fan art was calling my name. Are we all on the same page that Nana is like a winter romance anime? It does not give spring, summer, or fall. It's most definitely winter. In your feels, heartbroken, sad, big lover girl era energy. Am I right or am I wrong? Either which way, I think I'm due for a rewatch. I haven't rewatched it in a hot second. I basically just live off the edits. Anyways, I loved doing this page. This is Mistfall lore. The Oath of Life and Loyalty is an ancient and potent folk magic ritual, deeply rooted in the traditions of servitude and allegiance. This mystical pact is forged between a master and those who desire to serve them, binding their fates and bestowing upon the loyal subjects unique abilities akin to those of their master. To establish an Oath of Life and Loyalty, both the master and the oath takers must partake in a ceremonial rite. This ritual often involves a symbolic act, such as the exchange of blood or the sharing of a sacred item, and the recitation of binding incantations that solidify the magical contract. The ceremony culminates in the master bestowing a token or an emblem, often a mark or talisman, upon the oath takers, signifying their new bond. Upon the successful completion of the oath, the loyal subjects are granted special abilities, mirroring those of their master. These powers can vary widely from enhanced strength and agility to more esoteric talents like telepathy or elemental control, depending on the master's own abilities. This shared power not only reinforces the bond but also enhances the effectiveness and loyalty of the master's followers. The Oath of Life and Loyalty is exceptionally difficult to break, designed to ensure unwavering loyalty and service. However, there are 3 primary conditions under which the oath can be dissolved. The first is marriage. A marriage can overrule and break the oath, symbolizing the creation of a new primary bond that supersedes the previous allegiance. This act must be consensual and publicly acknowledged to nullify the oath effectively. The second way is death. The death of either the master or the oath taker severs the bond naturally, as the connection between their lives is irrevocably broken. And lastly, there is betrayal. If an oath taker betrays their master, the oath is shattered in a dramatic and punitive manner. The betrayer is marked with a brand that signifies their treachery, and the limb that they use to commit the act of betrayal is severed as a form of magical retribution. This serves as both a punishment and a deterrent to others who might consider breaking their oath. The Oath of Life and Loyalty is a profound commitment, intertwining the destinies of master and servant. It is a bond that brings great power and responsibility, with dire consequences for those who dare to break it. Let me know if you like that bit of lore. What are the plot holes that could possibly come from this magical rule that I have going on? For more context and more lore, go check out my YouTube channel. Bye! Hello friends. I hope you guys are having a really great holiday season. I have been way too busy, and I have not been able to make the content that I want to make. So I thought today I would sneak in a little sketch. Astonishingly so, we have been really filling up the sketchbook. I find it so satisfying. Like, I never thought I would be someone that could just fill up a sketchbook like this, just because of how slow I've always been to fill out a sketch page. But because we've been practicing this past year, I've gotten so much faster at using references and really just generating ideas. Wow, the power of a sketchbook, for real. Anyways, I'm so glad I got to make some time for the sketch. I'm very much happy and relieved and pretty happy with how this page turned out. As always, the references will be in the Discord. Hello friends. I hope you guys are having a really great start to your year. Today we are getting some sketching practice in this morning. It's definitely something I want to do more of, but I'm very hesitant to create New Year's resolutions. Not to be snobby or cool and different or pick me about it, but when I create a goal during this time of such renewal, I feel like the pressure gets to be so extensive that I almost don't want to do it anymore. It's so much easier for me to take my goals day by day and be the best person I can be throughout the entire day, and giving myself some grace when things don't pan exactly as I'd like for it to be. And really, this is an adjustment that I've had to make personally as someone who has maybe a controlling problem, definitely a side that strives for perfectionism and has to deal with an incredible amount of shame and disappointment when those goals are not met. So to adjust for that, I've really had to take myself out of that yearly mindset, not completely out because it's still good to think about things long term, but also I know that my year is made up of daily efforts and daily intentions. Call it a marathon mindset. Wow, so inspirational. But yeah, are New Year's resolutions your beat, or do you avoid it like me and instead opt for maybe a little bit more of a delayed, possibly quarter year goal? Do you prefer that spontaneous, yeah, I'm gonna start going to the gym? Or do you think you need the kind of season of renewal, perhaps? So I've been thinking about our Discord challenges, and I feel like this month would be really fun to do a study-based challenge with the theme of armor. So all throughout this entire next month, 30 days, I'm going to just be focusing on rendering armor, drawing different types on different body shapes, because it's definitely something that I want to improve on, and hopefully you guys will be able to join in with me if this piques your interest, or if you just find a character that you would like to draw that has interesting armor, whether it be from a game or from a TV show. I think that would be really cool. And since TikTok is gonna get blipped out of existence, I will probably include this whole entire work that I'm doing, more like a hyperfixation on this challenge, on my YouTube. So definitely, if you've liked my TikTok videos so far, go check out my YouTube, because that's where I'm gonna be reposting everything. I'm really bad at posting on Instagram, even though I should be better. YouTube is where I love to live on. It can be really easy to get on Pinterest and use the expression and the palette from a single reference, but I really wanted to challenge myself to think about lighting, think about page structure and expression practice and character design all in that same time, and really make it my own, which is really the mission when we're taking things from Pinterest. But it also gives me so much to think about in every aspect of everything. But seeing all the pieces come together in a way is very satisfying. It feels like you're throwing in a bunch of these different ingredients and kind of meshing them together, and you have no idea how it's going to turn out. I will say the most difficult part, and probably my least favorite part of this entire spread, was the pose. She's like sitting or something, and it is not really as dynamic and beautiful as I would like for it to be. I think the torso is great, but the whole concept of sitting or crouching in the way that she is, or squatting really, is not what I would have chosen. I could have pushed that. I would say that I loved that how this page turned out, but if I'm being completely honest, it would have worked a lot better on a darker paper, or if I had toned the page first. So I think taking this digital will be very, very awesome. But yeah, my mission in the next couple of days will be to turn this digital and kind of rework the palette. I would really like to talk through the palette again, and then swing back around to talk more about that arcane weapon that we were thinking of, which does go with the theme of armor. So get very ready to have various series of episodes and art all about rendering armor, drawing armor, thinking about movement and different body types and practicality, and really just fun inspiration gathering. Even checking out maybe like different cultures and what we see in other fantasy worlds, maybe even, I don't know. This has really just been something I've been wanting to dive into. So I'm very, very excited. And the Discord challenge is up in the challenge center of our Discord, and of course it is linked in my bio. I definitely look forward to you guys in the challenges. Bye. Welcome to what is day 2 of our armor study. Weirdly enough, when I was looking for references on my Pinterest, I was very unsatisfied. For me, my struggle with armor is mostly understanding the physics of it, how it restricts a person, what kind of movements make sense, and how it looks in different dynamic poses. And I wasn't seeing a lot of that, and not a lot of variation in terms of body types. I just remembered that Delicious and Dungeon actually exist. There's a lot of characters that wear armor in that anime, and I think we can totally do that for our next study session. Awesome, amazing. Anyways, to get back on track, I kind of had to settle with my reference, which did end up being AI art, unfortunately. Too bad it wasn't a human artist that I could plug and support. But anyways, we're settling a lot today, and really we're working on just expanding the dome, our library, our arsenal. A while back, Jackie Drujko, who is an amazing artist who gives really great advice. I believe she shared this in the context of how to grow as an artist. And one of those ways is to expand your library brain. And this unfortunately does not mean scrolling through Pinterest, looking at beautiful art all day and suddenly it becomes a part of your inner dome. It is the process of very intentionally looking at design, referencing that for yourself, creating based off that design, and really soaking it up into your muscle memory. And then as you do that over and over again, you will have added elements of design into your arsenal that you can use when it comes to creating all different types of characters. And so that is what we're doing today. As usual, I did go in with my red pen and then made corrections going over with the black pen. I think this is a really great way of reviewing your work and noticing where you went wrong in terms of like shape and form the first time around, and then making those intentional corrections afterwards. And then later figuring out what that shading looked like according to our reference and trying to replicate that. And as you guys know, we are on a rage of patch paging my sketchbook, not necessarily filling out new pages. I have shown you guys this once before, but cutting out a character and then layering it onto my sketchbook and almost having this 3D effect, it is a lot of bit more fun than gluing an entire page in and instead having this pop out dynamic look. I ended up being surprisingly very pleased about this page because it was definitely not planned to be this way. Also, I just don't draw masculine characters nearly as much as I want to. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that in the coming days. So definitely look forward to that. And of course, I do have an artist Discord with a little challenge center, and it is posted up as a challenge if you would like to join along with me in this armored theme series that I'm doing. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye! It is day 3 of our armor study, and as we talked about in our last video, when I was struggling to look for references, I remembered that Dungeon Meshi, otherwise known as Delicious in Dungeon, which is a beautiful anime that has fantastic armor references, especially when it comes to dynamic poses and fight scenes. And today we are choosing one of my most favorite visually beautiful moments of this series, and that is the fight between Laios and the living armor. The lighting in this scene is so beautiful, and I will have to come back around and do a lighting study. Just the blue toned everything, something about it just really struck a chord with me. It's so magical and mystical, so vibey. When it came to the study, and I haven't shared this with you guys yet, but I did forget how uncomfortable it is to draw things that you are not good at. I mean, that's the point of the study. But man, is it uncomfortable to get started. Basically, the only thing that was carrying me through was the fact that I love Dungeon Meshi, but I was really scared of getting the proportions wrong. And I think I did the best I could. I know where there are imperfections for sure. And I wonder if when it comes to actually drafting these from scratch for my own storyboards and whatnot, if doing the anatomy and then laying armor over it is the way to go, or if artists just intuitively know how the armor would look and how the anatomy would look as well. I'll definitely have to look into some of these art processes and see how other artists do it in their like time lapse and whatnot. I actually went back and I looked through, I think Instagram must know and Pinterest must know now that I'm looking for armored artists, because I'm starting to find a lot more. So as we go through this study, I'll definitely share those references and share with you my discoveries. A little switch up that I did for this sketch page was the use of color pencils. And I really do think it suits the vibe of Dungeon Meshi. I don't often get to use this baby blue color, kind of like a powdery blue. I guess it's just not something I reach for very often, but I really love it. Anyways, if you would like to participate in this armor study with me, feel free to join the Discord. It is a 30-day long study with no certain deadline at the moment. I just want to be able to work on it for 30 days and know that I put 30 days toward it, if that helps clarify anyone who's looking forward to these on a daily basis. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!